Bo, if you come back, we'll try it out again. Um, hey, what's up, Psycho Spunk? You're so lost. I'm not actually. Uh, and your idea of lost. Yeah, no audio there. Yeah, I just went back live to see if this other mic works. Love that you are what you're seeking. Awesome, Quincy. Thank you. I appreciate that. Always blaming on the. What's up, Dr. Freeman? Always blaming on the boogie or the fringe. It's funny. I believe in Jesus, that he died for my sins. If I'm wrong, so be it. He gives my life purpose. Well, if that's what you need for purpose, but I'm telling you, there is no purpose. You are what you're seeking. You don't need purpose. When you realize who you really are, that fulfills you completely and utterly. And you don't need a purpose because purpose becomes irrelevant because you understand yourself as one with the whole process of existence. I mean, you understand yourself as one with the entire of cosmic energy. And what is the meaning of purpose after that? After that, what is the meaning of purpose? Purpose is just this measly little human concept that people who don't understand who they really are need. And you don't need purpose. Pull up to Arkansas and hang with us hippies. I would love to. Maybe one day. Or come on down to the island and hang with, we're hippies down here too. What is the meaning then? Well, that's the same question as what is your purpose. It provides a great halo. Nice. Nice. Yeah, what is your meaning? Well, again, meaning is kind of the same question as what is purpose. The meaning is this right here, right now, existing, living, being, but understanding what that means, understanding that you are one with the flow of the energy of existence, that you are the ocean of being. You're not a separate wave, you are the ocean waving. That makes you the ocean of being itself. Everyone can't receive this message. That's right, exactly. Yeah, I saw that, Bo. That's awesome. Oh, Austin Pennant. Yeah, looks like a halo. Saint Rick. Hey, what's up? Another Austin, my friend. Good to see you. So, what or who put all this in motion? Again, that's a human concept. That's an irrelevant question that has no meaning. Bustin. That's an irrelevant question that has no meaning. That is just a human question, a very religiously motivated question. Be here right now in this existence as existence itself, and you won't have those questions ever again. You'll have no questions because you are absolutely blissfully, oh good, now there's audio. You're absolutely blissfully aware of who you really are behind this mask, this persona, this ego. You are existence itself. Existence. That's who you are. That's what you are. And you don't need a who that put all this in motion. Existence is infinite. It's an irrelevant question. Absolutely irrelevant. Jen, Jen said, please read your Bible. I've read my Bible so many times. I've translated more of the Bible than most Christians have even read. Hebrew and Greek. What all you streaming on? So I'm on YouTube and this account. I was on my backup account, but I didn't have my background over there. And so I was just trying to get the background over there, and I'm gonna have to pause this one and somehow get it up to my other device. So I just cut it off, but there's got to be a way, man. There's got to be a way. It's that I'm not logged into this device. That's what it is. Let's see. There's got to be a way. I'm gonna have to pause this though to do it, Bustin. But I want to do it. Let's see. So these are my old photos, but I don't have my background photos on here. Again, somebody said, "Who's the creator of everything?" That's what I've been talking about. Maybe you just joined, um, but there is no. That's an irrelevant question. There is no who that's the creator of everything. There is existence. You don't need a creator. Please feel free to pause all those. I think I'm gonna have to. I am going to pause you guys for a moment and see if I can figure this. I'm trying to airdrop it and it's not showing up for some reason. I don't know why it's not showing up. Everyone, let's see if that works. Oh, I might have figured it out. Hang on one second. Yes. Accept. All right, I'm back. I figured it out. I got it. I got it. Let me go back to TikTok on this. My backup account. I'll do that. Okay, here we go. I got my background on the backup. Let's see what happens now. Screen. Does it want me to do that? Okay, here we go. No. What the? Sorry, guys. I know I'm distracted, but I'm trying to figure out multi-streaming. It's different on the iPad. That's not what I want. Shit. I'm free to delete this question, but does that mean when you clench your fist, that means God is fisting? Oh man, that's great. That is so great. Okay, let me see if this works, guys. iPad version of TikTok is a lot different. It doesn't work the same. Doesn't work. That doesn't work. That puts the background in front of me. I'm trying to get the same background over here. I'm gonna figure it out. Let's do this. There we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's a different background. It's got the same words, but just that's weird. I don't like that, but it's okay. Let's see. No God has ever came and had common with any of us, right? We just believe blindly. Exactly. It's the product of human beings. It's the product of imagination. People imagining that they know this God, that this God has told us something and given us words to write down. Like, do you really believe that God gave you this Bible through all these different people thousands of years ago to write these words down? That the morality of this book has evolved over time and things have changed over time. It just makes no sense. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. Okay, now I've got somewhat of a background on my backup. I do not like this, but that's okay. Did the church hurt you? No. I just intellectually realized my way out of Christianity. I intellectually realized that Christianity isn't true, that Jesus is not coming back, that he was never intended to come back. Nobody believed that. The writers of the New Testament were talking about the destruction of Jerusalem when they're referring to the coming of Jesus. Jesus never said those words. We don't even know if a guy named Jesus actually existed. That is an odd background. It's so weird. It's so weird. Let me see if I can. I just can't figure anything else out on this iPad. It's so different. I'm going to. Oh, hold up. Nope, that's not it either. That's it, but I don't want those eyes. Let's try upload your. Oh wait, what? That's not working either. Whoa, whoa. Oh, that's a little better than those eyes. That's a little better. Strange too, but it's a little better. We'll try that. We'll go with that. There we go. Can you see the whole background? Is the whole background visible? All right. ABS 2024 says, I had nightmares of hell as a kid because of my parents, right? Because of the religion. I know exactly what you mean. I had nightmares of hell as well. It's a form of abuse. I remember as a child lying in bed, terrified to go to sleep because I thought, well, Jesus might come back and I might go to hell. And then I would have these dreams about hell, dreams about, people screaming and, just all these things taking place. And it's terrifying, and they never apologized. Of course they didn't. Of course they didn't. Bro, Jesus is coming back. Jesus is not coming back. Never, ever, ever. Just checking in. Same here. Right, right. It's horrible. It is a form of abuse, isn't it? It's abuse. Hell doesn't exist. There is no such thing as hell. Hell doesn't exist. And to teach your children about hell is 100% psychological abuse. What do you think about witchcraft? That's a question I've never been asked before. Interesting. Witchcraft to me is, there's nothing to it as well. I've never experienced anything like witchcraft. It doesn't make sense for me to believe in it. I don't believe anything. Thank you for the rose, my friend. Good vibe. There is Ohio. I don't believe anything. So thank you for the rose, Kamisha. I don't believe anything, so I don't believe in witchcraft. It's not something that I've experienced. I am existence. That's what I experience. I experience this right here, right now, and that's what is to me. So I don't have to believe anything. There's nothing I believe. Like a belief is something that you really, really hope to be true. All these Christians and Muslims, people that are on here talking, all this stuff to me on one of these screens. They're holding on. They just hope so badly that what they believe is true, and it's really not true. But they're just hoping so badly, beyond all logic and reason, that it's true. But I don't have that. I don't believe anything. I don't hope that anything is true. There's nothing for me to believe, and there's no reason for me to believe. What I know and understand is that I am existence right here, right now. I know this moment. I know this moment right here, right now. Past doesn't exist except as a thought in my mind right this minute, in my thinking. It's a thought right now in the present moment. The future is just imaginative thought happening in the present moment. The only thing that exists is right here, right now. There's nothing to believe. There's nothing to believe. Have you read the Bible? Yes, I've read the Bible multiple times, and I've even translated more Bible than most Christians have read. And this moment is perfect, just as it is and just as we are. Exactly, Bo. Well said. I have translated more of the Bible than most Christians have read from Hebrew and Greek. Yes, I've definitely read the Bible more than most, and anyone you probably know. Speaking facts. Thank you, Numi. Yes. It states he's coming back, and it states it's not true. When the New Testament is talking about the coming of Jesus, it's writers writing after 70 AD, after the destruction of Jerusalem. And when they're writing about coming of Jesus, the judgment, any of those things, they are writing about the destruction of Jerusalem after the fact. They're writing in a genre that we call prophetic hindsight. We don't have a shred of evidence, not a shred of manuscript or fragment of evidence of the New Testament that isn't dated before anywhere from 150 to 250 AD. That's over 100 years after the supposed death of Jesus. What you read about Jesus in the New Testament it's made up. The words are put into this man's mouth, if that was a man at all. If he was a man at all, the words were put in his mouth. He didn't say any of those words. It's a fictional book. Exactly. Dig the shirt. Somebody commented, I see. rickquestionsthings.com. Yeah, so head over to rickquestionsthings.com if you're interested in this stuff. I've written so many things about this. I've written about my exit from Christianity. I've written about what hell doesn't exist, what hell really is in the Bible. The Old Testament is silent on hell, by the way. This big old book of the Old Testament, there's no hell in it. And the New Testament, when it talks about Gehenna is a place right outside of the walls of Jerusalem. Ex-Christian here, right here with you. Awesome. Good to see you, my friend. OG Gardens. Heresy. There's no such thing as heresy. I've written about that. I've written why there's no hell. I've written why Jesus isn't coming back. That it's been grossly misinterpreted because the New Testament is a product of human beings who were just trying to understand why Jerusalem was destroyed, why the temple was destroyed. They just have something to figure out. And out comes the New Testament. That's all it's about. That's all the New Testament is about. The reason Christianity exists is because Jerusalem was destroyed in 70 AD by the Romans. That's it. That's the birth and origin of Christianity. That's the origin of Christianity. That's why it exists. And most Christians, 99.9 Christians do not know that because they're not educated to know that. They don't know. How would they know unless they researched on their own and came across this profound intellectual understanding? Have you read Josephus in the War of the Jews? Read Josephus in the War of the Jews, who was a Jewish eyewitness who wrote an account of the destruction of Jerusalem. Read Josephus and then read the New Testament, and it becomes very clear. Just by reading that, you can read that and have a better understanding of what the New Testament is all about. Angela says, wrong, but I'm absolutely right. I'm absolutely right. You saying I'm wrong means nothing. I'm absolutely right. I've done my research. I know. And what we did in the last live is people were telling me scriptures to look up, and I would read them, and I would tell you, this is why you are absolutely misinterpreting this. Jesus is talking about the destruction of Jerusalem, and realize it's not Jesus talking about anything. It's the writers putting the words in Jesus' mouth so that he was foretelling the destruction of Jerusalem as his coming. I'm just telling you the truth. And it doesn't, I don't want you to believe me. I want you to, bro, speak the facts, and all these toxic people bring you down. I don't, I've been doing these lives for a while, and there's so many toxic people, and it's so crazy, the people who say they believe in Jesus and say that they're Josephus isn't God inspired when there is no such thing as God inspired, because there's no separate entity out there of a God. If you need the word God, then use it as yourself, because you are this existence. You're not separate from it. You are inseparable from existence. You're inseparable from this entire process, this flow of cosmic energy that is existence. You're inseparable from the ocean of being. You're inseparable from it all. You're one with it all. You are one with it all. That's who you really are. That's your true self, your true nature. We're on the same page. Awesome, OG Gardens. So then how do you assume we were created? I don't assume we were created. That's irrelevant. It's an irrelevant question. How were we created? Who created us? Those are irrelevant questions. They are meaningless. They have no meaning. Those are just religious concepts that have been programmed into you to ask those questions and need a creator. That's a religious concept. It's a human concept. How is that irrelevant? Because you can't answer it. It's an irrelevant question. You will never answer the question because there isn't a who that created you. You will seek and you will seek and you will never find. You will never find. You see mine? I see your comment. I know I'm missing a lot of comments. I'm juggling between 3 screens. Yeah, Coleman. You look in. Look to yourself. Trust yourself. You're a blessing, Rick. Keep up this good work. Thank you, Bo. I love you, and I really appreciate you. I'm not going to be on much longer. I do have to get up and work in the morning. They're meaningful questions. I dare say the most important questions, and they're not. They're the hey Jet, thank you. They're the least important questions of all. What am I going to drink tonight is a much more. Am I going to have coffee or tea? That's a much more important question than who created us. That's an absolutely irrelevant question. Absolutely worthless. It really is. It's not worthless. I mean, if you ask that question and you come to the right conclusions that there is no creator, then it isn't worthless because it led you into truth and it led you to yourself, which is existence itself. Numi, I appreciate you so much. You know, it's good to have encouragement too, because I do get a lot of hate. It's hard giving up the belief system. It is. It's really hard because it's such a a programmed thing. I mean, it's programmed in us from day one, most of us, right? To believe in a system. I mean, we have to have something because everyone around us has something like that they believe in for the most part. And it's hard to give it up. It's hard. It's hard to open your mind. It's hard to go on that scary journey of your own path. And that's all I want you to do. I don't want anybody to believe me. I don't want you to believe what I'm saying. I don't want you to take what I'm saying and say, oh, everything he says, I want to believe it. That would just be the same thing that I'm saying not to do. Don't believe me. Go on your own path. Do your research. Study, research, and then go on your own journey of truth. Don't look out there. Don't look for some external deity or God because it's not there. You're not going to find it. You can continue looking. Good to see you, Rick. I'm off to go adulting. Good night. I love you, my friend. Good night. Thank you for being here, Bo. I always look forward to seeing you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you and have a great night. People are scared of true thinkers, free thinkers. John, you nailed it. And they are absolutely scared of people who intellectually work their way out of their religion. It's a threat. They're like, wait, if someone like that can work their way intellectually, so then they have to attack you and say, oh, you never believed, you were never a true believer, you never were baptized in the Holy Spirit, you never received the Holy Spirit. You know, there's all these, you need to read your Bible. You know, all these things that all the parrots say over and over and over. It's the same stuff they say over and over and over and over and over and over. And I bet I'll see one right now. over and over and over. It's the same stuff because it's terrifying for someone to see someone like me who was a pastor for several years. I went to seminary, got a master's of arts in religion from Westminster Theological Seminary. I preached, I lived it, I loved it. It was my existence, it was everything to me. I loved and served Jesus with all my heart. That's what I did. I was sincere, I was genuine, absolutely genuine and sincere. And then I came to understand that it wasn't true. And that is terrifying for a lot of people. It's terrifying for a lot of people. It wasn't an experience that I had, Jenna, in Christianity. It's an intellectual discovery. I enjoyed my time in Christianity. I loved God. I served God. I just wanted to be like Jesus. And then I discovered none of it's true intellectually. It wasn't a bad experience. Nobody wronged me and made me dislike church or anything like that. I got out of ministry because of integrity. I couldn't preach the things I no longer believed. Intellectually, I couldn't believe. Yeah, Google is free, Dr. Freeman. Intellectually, I couldn't believe the things that I was preaching anymore. I couldn't believe it intellectually. And so, with integrity, I stepped out of ministry and I left the church and I stopped believing intellectually because I couldn't. You can't make yourself believe something that you intellectually know is not true. If you walk into, people have heard me say this 1,000 times, if you walk into a dark room and you step on a rope, but you believe it's a snake, and then you turn on the light and you look and you see it's a rope, there's nothing you can do to make yourself ever believe that that rope is a snake ever again. It will never happen because intellectually you know that it's a rope, and you can't trick your brain into believing that's a snake ever again. You've been enlightened. And so I've been enlightened as far as Christianity goes. And that's why I left, because I know that it was a rope. It never was a snake. The light has come on. And then I went on my own path of self-realization and discovery. And I discovered that I was what I was seeking that entire time. You see that up there? You are what you're seeking. I discovered that I was seeking myself the entire time. And I don't mean the ego me. I don't mean just the ego me. I mean the real me, inseparable from all that exists. The real me that is the energy of all things, the real me that is existence, the real me that is the ocean of being, waving as Rick, waving as you, waving as everything else around me, and every event and things that we call things. Thank you, Gimme. Watermelon. I appreciate that. Thank you. So I'm not disrespecting anyone. I'm really not. And I know a lot of people get offended by the things that I say when I'm answering questions. Somebody said answer our questions. I am. I just answer the ones that I see. I can't keep up. I'm on 3 screens. I can't keep up with every single question. So don't be an egoist. It's very egotistical to think that I'm ignoring your question. I don't ignore questions unless they're just the same old parroted stuff that I know you're just mindlessly parroting. Sometimes I ignore those. And I'm so thankfully. Well, I mean, I would think that's, me from my perspective, that's your imagination that God pulled you back in. Somebody said Jesus loves you. Jesus can't love me because Jesus, if he existed as a guy, he's dead. But I would rather you say you love me. I would rather you say I love you. So because Jesus doesn't love me, Jesus can't love me. When somebody isn't alive, they can't love you. But I would rather you say that you love me. That would be much more meaningful. Thank you, Taco Bell. I appreciate that because I love you too. Well, thank you guys. Good morning and good morning and evening and night. Annie's Castaways. I appreciate you. I appreciate you very much. Hundreds of eyewitnesses, zero eyewitnesses. All of those writings were written so many years after the fact. There are zero eyewitnesses, not one. Do the research. There's not a shred of manuscript evidence from the New Testament prior to anywhere from 150 to 250 AD. It was all written way after the fact, and none of it is true. Good morning, evening, and good night. Thank you. Is that from The Truman Show? I love The Truman Show. If it is, I love that. You like if you scroll back and see my repeat question. Sorry, good vibe. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to keep up. Somebody said, boy, you're gonna hate hell. I'm not, because hell doesn't exist. How can I hate something that I'll never find myself in? Hell does not exist. You know, hell is non-existent in the Old Testament. There is no hell in the Old Testament. It doesn't exist. This whole book called the Old Testament, so very large, not a shred of mention of hell. There's a place of the dead where everybody goes. Thank you, Gimme. But there is zero hell. In the New Testament, when it talks about hell, it's talking about Gehenna, which was a place outside of the walls of Jerusalem where the trash burned and cursed corpses were thrown and all this bad stuff was thrown out there that nobody wanted to see. That's Gehenna. And that was when they talk about that Gehenna, they're talking about, again, after the fact, the destruction of Jerusalem. You read Josephus, he talks about Gehenna, and Josephus equates Gehenna with the destruction of Jerusalem. And Josephus says there were corpses thrown in Gehenna. That's what the New Testament writers were familiar with Josephus. They've read Josephus. So they use Josephus as some of their source, right? So they'd read Josephus. Everybody had read Josephus. So they have so much in common because they knew of Josephus. So they talked about Gehenna as well, just like Josephus did. There is no hell. You will never find yourself in hell. You have nothing to fear. Hell doesn't exist. Hell is a figment of people's imagination. It doesn't exist. The only way that hell exists is it's a frame of mind right now. And if you're in religion, it's very likely you're in hell because you're scared, you have fear, you are hoping and praying for salvation. You think you're lost or were lost. You think that you sin. You think that you need salvation. You think that you need the blood of Jesus. You think that you need Allah's forgiveness, whatever it is, whatever religion you're a part of. You think you need this divine forgiveness or whatever it is. That's hell. That's hell. Heaven is understanding that you need none of that. None of it is relevant to you. Heaven is understanding who you really are as existence itself. Heaven is understanding that you are not separate from anything around you. You aren't this separate entity, this separate being. You are existence, the energy of the cosmos flowing through you and through them and everybody else and everything around you. It's all the same energy. It's the same existence. It's the same ocean of being waving in all these different forms. And that's what you really are. I know I'm missing a lot of comments and I'm very sorry. Thank you, Deborah. You agree? Yeah, absolutely. And that is heaven. Understanding that is heaven. It's a state of mind. It's a state of understanding. Hell doesn't exist except as a state of mind right now in the illusion and the sleep that you find yourself in, the bondage that you find yourself in, that you don't know you're in. When you're in the bondage of religion, when you're in the bondage of the illusion of separation, you don't realize you're in that bondage. You don't know it as bondage until you're free from that bondage. When you break free from the bondage of religion, when you break free from the bondage of the illusion of separation, and you realize that separation is an illusion and that you actually are one with everything around you, that you're one, not just one with everything around you, that you are everything around you deep down. The essence of your being is the essence of all that exists. That's what you are. You're the same cosmic energy. There is no separation. There isn't just some person over there and me and something over there and me and nature out there and then me. It's all existence, one existence, and you are inseparable from it. That's the real you. That's the greatest news you can ever hear. If somebody wants to tell you the gospel, that's the gospel. Tasha, yes, I'm going live Friday night. Yeah, I'll be live this Friday. Live on Friday at 9 p.m. Central. Okay, guys, I should probably turn in here in just probably 5 minutes. I'm going to give it another 5 minutes. Let's see. I'm going to, let's see. Let Gimme on, and I'm only live for another like 4 minutes. Hello. Hey, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining me. I'm only on for another couple of minutes, but before I got off, I saw there was a request, and then I saw it was you, and I was like, okay, let's go. Yeah, let me let her on and say hi. And how's it going?
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
It's so I used to lead worship in a church.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up indoctrinated
Yeah.
from birth till I was 30. I went to church every Sunday. Over the years, our church got rid of the Wednesday thing and they got rid of Sunday nights. So then it was just Sunday mornings. Okay. And anyway, it's so hard to ask questions to people that I see, like, that I've respected within the church, because they have all these things to say that aren't in the Bible, that, you know, for reasons why you need to stay in the church and remain brainwashed, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And it really was really hard for me in the beginning of my deconstruction, because I would go ask questions and then I would just feel like, oh, you know, they would say, oh, it's so good to ask questions. Yeah, it's so good. You know, I would ask these questions and, you know, they would just almost, and I would say, okay, thank you for monologuing for 20 minutes, but you didn't answer my question. Yeah, it was just ridiculous. It ended up having to be me, myself. Also, TikTok has really helped me, just these kind of lives, getting in and listening to them. But, you know, all of my family are Christian. So, and with me growing up being a worship leader, I was the one that they always asked to pray. I was the one that they always asked to pray for them, you know, and things like that. And my sister is agnostic, and recently I've told her, like, hey, I'm agnostic too. And she's like, okay. So we have this little secret fun, I guess. Even my husband has done some deconstructing, but he still believes there's a God. And so that's been, you know, it's just been a little difficult.
Well, you know, I relate to everything you've said. And in fact, I remember before I even went to seminary, before I became like, before I thought I was being called to the ministry, because I literally, like, I sold everything. I had a good IT job. I've got a computer degree as well. So I had an IT job. I was an IT manager, and I became convinced that I was being called to the ministry. So I sold my house, sold everything I owned, and moved blindly to Dallas. And I went to seminary, to a Church of Christ seminary at first, and then I was reformed theologically. So then I transferred to Westminster Theological Seminary. But Before I did all that, before I even thought I was being called to ministry, I started getting serious about Christianity. And I went to my pastor at the time, who was like my first mentor guy. I went to my pastor, me and a friend of mine, we were like going through the Bible. We started seeing these things that didn't make sense to us and didn't quite add up. And this was even before seminary. We went to him and we're like, hey, we're noticing these things. And like, can you help us understand this? It's making us doubt a little bit. We were honest with him. And I shit you not, this was his response. And I've said this before on this live. He looked at both of us with this like disgust. And he was like, who do you think you are? How dare you question? And he's like a real egotistical guy. I mean, looking back on it all, he was very, very egotistical and narcissistic, which a lot of those personalities are. But he looked at us and was just disgusted. How dare you question the word of God? And he just made us feel like idiots. So we really didn't much after that. And then a little bit later, I felt called in the ministry. So I went to seminary and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until a little bit later on. I mean, even in seminary, I had a lot of doubts because you go through all kinds of textual criticism. Now, when I went through my deconstruction, when I started going through deconstruction and was going through the deconstruction, I was doing it alone as well. And I didn't even have TikTok because this was over 10 years ago, that I got out of ministry and left Christianity. I didn't know anyone who had gone through what I was going through. It was just so lonely. And I ended up honestly going through a divorce because of it all. And, ultimately because of it all, losing, all of my friends and everything that I knew because I no longer believed, and it was a painful journey, but it was worth it in the end. But there was nothing else I could do. I couldn't pretend to believe these things that I knew weren't true. I couldn't continue to preach. And I was preaching for so long with these very strong doubts. And when I finally came to the conclusion that I just can't believe anymore, it's impossible for me to believe anymore because of what I know intellectually, I could not continue to preach them because I knew it wasn't true. And it really, I mean, it was a painful process. So I'm glad that there's things like, I'm glad you have like a sense of community. You have your sister. TikTok has helped you. I think that's amazing because there's so many things that are just stupid about TikTok, but then there's so many things that are actually helpful too, And I think that's one of them.
I actually started following her. She has different names. I think she has 3 different accounts just because I guess they have to say bananaed instead of the other word so that they don't. Anyway, I guess it cues TikTok to block your live or something.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway,
this is my first live from being bananaed. Yeah.
So,
yeah, of course. Yeah, we're friends on here. Yeah.
So it started with her lives.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah.
But she has really bleached blonde hair. She wears like really big glasses sometimes and like big jewelry. I don't know.
Okay.
If you're talking about.
No, I'm not sure.
It's so crazy when you're indoctrinated from birth, from like you're taught as a child all these things are true.
Right.
It's really hard to break away from that.
Yeah.
You're literally brainwashed, and so have your parents have been, and so have their parents, and you're just stuck in it. Like how much it takes for you to say, wait a minute, and look at everything in a different way. It almost seems like, how was I such an idiot before?
Yeah.
Why did I believe all of this? It doesn't make any sense when you just think about it for 2 seconds.
I know. Exactly. And that's what most people can't do. It is hard. I mean, like you said, it's extremely hard. And I get so much hate, and it really doesn't bother me because I know how impossible it is for them to understand what I'm talking about, and how scary it is for them to hear what I'm talking about. It's scary for a lot of people. And I do think, I think I wish that at least some of the thinking religious people, those who actually think, would go to my website, Rick Questions Things, and just read some of what I've written, just so that it would at least expose them to something uh, deprogrammed, so that they'll say, "Oh, wait, okay, there is another understanding here." And because you're right, I mean, it's programmed. It's so deeply programmed that it's almost impossible. I mean, it's like, because I am a programmer. I teach high school Python coding now, so that's what I do now for a living. And it's like writing a program. The program can't change itself. It is written the way it's written in the language it's written. And that's exactly where most people are. And that's why I say religion is bondage, because bondage is something that cannot be. I mean, you just can't break it just out of nowhere. It's hard. It's really, really hard.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, LG talks about things that I can't believe he's able to just so like right now. I think, and the it's where I am in my life. It's so hard for me to be calm and kind to
Yeah.
people
Sure, I
that are
understand that.
still in it.
Yeah, I understand.
Because they just dismiss everything you say. Just well, the devil's really got a hold on you.
Right, right.
Oh, when was the last time you went to church? If you were in church, yeah. If I was in church, I would still be brainwashed. You're right.
Exactly. That's right.
That's how they keep you in there. You have what? It depends on what church you go to, but like hundreds of people telling you one thing, and if you're in that bubble, you have no one else telling you anything different. So you're stuck, and it's just so crazy. But I'm trying to think. I was gonna ask you something.
Yeah, you're right on though. You're right on.
Yeah, the atheist woman that I also came across,
Mhm.
she was just talking about when you were a pastor, did you preach a lot of these stories literally, like Adam and Eve? Were they?
So I did for a long time, and then towards the end, as I studied more, at some point I had to give up some of those things. The literal stories, the literal flood, the creation myth. I started to see it as more of a myth, a theological myth. But in the beginning, though, I was a literalist. I believed all those things literally. There was something else. There was something else I was going to say about that. Uh, Man. Well, anyway, yeah, I did for a long time, and then I know what I was going to say. I became also like a theistic evolutionist. I believed in at some point. I ended up believing that, okay, I can't argue with evolution at this point, so I have to try to compromise and come up with a way to hold both. uh and so I became a theistic evolutionist. So on the way out, I mean, it was just bits and pieces. But the first like real doctrinal domino to fall was the belief in hell. Like, that was the big thing for me. Once I realized that hell wasn't real, that hell doesn't exist, that really gave me a freedom from a lot of the fear that I had early on. And it gave me a freedom to really like question and be free to question after that. I was like, okay, because I became a Christian universalist at that point. I thought, okay, everybody's going to be saved. God's going to reconcile all of creation through Jesus' sacrifice. So I believed that everything was going to be saved, even Satan, everything was going to be reconciled. So I became a Christian, like a firm Christian universalist. So I was able to, at that point, believe that, okay, I can not be afraid to ask questions because God's still going to love me. And that allowed me to actually go where the truth led me, which was out the door. I mean, eventually it led me to the intellectual enlightenment that Christianity it's simply a product of human beings in their own historical context. That's all it is. And that extends out to the Old Testament. It's the same thing. Yeah, and all those really. I mean, the Quran's no different. And the Quran only exists because Christianity exists. They all are just. Mormonism only exists because Christianity exists. Jehovah's Witness, same thing. They all are just this product of human imagination and human manipulation and human control and all these, this melting pot of all these human concepts and motives, all melted into one. And it's nothing else than that, you know. But it's hard to see that when you're programmed and trapped in that bondage. I mean, it's terrifying, and it's hard to see, because when you're in it, I mean, for me, I'm honestly saying this with all sincerity. I was the most sincere, genuine Christian I had ever known. I mean, I really was.
I know. Me too.
Yeah, I was hardcore, man. I mean, I was all in, living by faith, you know. And when I intellectually discovered what I did, all the things that I did, I mean, I couldn't believe it. It's not because of, you know, a lot of people want to pursue all these different reasons to it. And all it was for me was I realized it wasn't true. It's a human product, you know.
I mean, I grew up in a church that everything was literal.
Mhm.
So to me, when I started looking at it with what I think is the correct lens, what loving God who loves you more than you could ever imagine,
Right.
that your human mind could ever wrap around, would put this tree in the middle of this perfect place and say, "Don't touch it." What parent is going to put a bowl of Halloween candy in the middle of the table in the living room and say, "Don't touch that, don't eat it"? You're not going to do that. If you're a loving parent, if you don't want your children to eat something, you're going to hide it from them.
You know, I don't want to say it, in the middle of the floor in the living room with a bunch of toddlers and saying, "Don't anybody touch this thing, and I'm going to leave out of the house, but nobody better touch." You know, I mean, it's the same thing. Same thing. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right.
Baby. Yep. I never thought
Yeah.
babies would.
That's well, even no, I mean, there's a story in the Old Testament where God commanded Israel to off men, women, children, infants, and even their animals of the people they were going to war with. Like it was. There's that too. There's that too. Yeah. Right. And I mean, it's more, you know, and that's why, you know, they always say, a lot of people say, morality, where do you think you get morality from? Well, it's not God, because religious morality has evolved over time, because you wouldn't do those things that they were doing back then that was okay. Religious morality has evolved and changed over time, because of human beings, because the human mind and the cultures change and evolve over time, and that's why morality changes over time. So yeah, no, it's I don't know. I mean, I want to say things like, I catch myself because I want to say, I don't know how anybody believes it, but I mean, I believed it. So I can't say that. I can't say I don't know how anybody believes it. Now, from this perspective, on this side of things, you know, I don't know how anybody believes it, but I understand, because I was there as well. I believed it wholeheartedly, knowing all those stories. And I was such a I don't know if you're familiar with like Calvinism and Arminianism and all this, Reformed theology, but I was hardcore that as well, Reformed, where I would say, yeah, God created people knowing that they were going to go to hell. And I had no like, because I just trusted that whatever God did was right, and that, Christopher Hitchens, I think it was, would say things like, he said something like, with God, all things are permissible. People say, with God, all things are possible. He'd say, no. Actually, with God, all things are permissible, because anybody, if they believe God is telling them something is right, no matter what it is, if they really believe it, then it's right for them, and they can get away with anything in their minds, but it doesn't, like, speaking of LG, I think LG's here. It just doesn't. Yeah, I think so. I think I saw, because LG's new, one of the accounts is the God spell of Jesus.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
so yeah, it's just it's an atrocity, really. But I understand. Hey, there you are. Thank you for the roses, my friend. We were just talking about you. um, yeah, me too. Um, yeah, it's disgusting, really, when you think about it. And I don't mean that. I have to tell people I don't mean that disrespectfully. I'm not saying any of this disrespectfully. I'm saying it from from the perspective of someone who understands that it's not true. In reality, it's not reality. It's not true. And and to me, looking back on it, it is quite disgusting, to believe those things, literally, especially. But but I get it. I mean, I get it. I was there.
For me, you said hell was kind of your big thing. Like, that kind of wasn't that the thing
That was
started
that was the first domino to fall, and then I just kept going from there and realized everything else that I've realized. Yeah.
For me, it was the just hatred that I feel like I witnessed towards the LGBTQ community. For
yeah.
me, from the church, for me, I was like, this can't be right. This is gross, and I don't like it, and it makes me feel terrible inside my gut. So I need to figure this out, because I am following this thing that says that this is wrong, and that just feels so bad to me.
Yeah, right.
So going into that and trying to figure that out led me, like, that was the first domino for me. And learning when the actual homosexuality was put into the Bible, like, not very long ago. And just learning all of that and being like, wow, this is absolutely terrible. And then these people, like, who say, you were never a Christian. And it's funny, because you and I and LG and many other people I've heard talk on here are saying, like, no, we were yeah, like, everything. When I first started really worrying about what was going on with this conflict inside of me, and like I said, started talking to these leaders in the church that just would monologue for 20 minutes and dance around in a circle and not actually answer my question, I was actually re-baptized, because I was listening to what they were telling me, and I was trying to figure this out. I was trying to do it the right way, and that was the wrong way. And I just want, it's just so, man, once you get out of that and you see with your eyes, it's crazy how it's everywhere. Like, it's really sad. Like, it makes me feel so sad for people.
Yeah. I know. Judgmental alert. Nobody's being judgmental, my friend. I mean, nobody. We've been where you are, and I don't judge. Oh yeah. How about you judge God for once? Yeah, exactly. Good response. I appreciate that. Somebody said they feel sad for me. And it's crazy. You shouldn't feel sad for me. When people, oh yeah, this is what I tell you. When people tell me you were never a Christian, he was never a Christian, I say, well, you're right, because because they'll say you were never a real Christian, a true Christian. Yeah, I'll say you're right, because there's no such thing as a true Christian, because by that you mean something supernatural. You mean that you've been born again by God, regenerated of the heart, or whatever. And that's a figment of your imagination. So you're right. I was never a true Christian if you mean by that something supernatural, because that just doesn't exist, and neither are you. No one is a true Christian in that sense. That's just a figment of your imagination.
It's just so sad when they come at you with, you're one day you'll see, and
right.
Stuff.
I know. Somebody said, I hope you like hell. A while ago, someone said, I hope you like hell when you get there. It's like, God, what a horrible human being. Yeah, I know. In their minds are like, yeah, that's why he's going to hell. It makes them excited. I was actually happy when I discovered there wasn't a hell, even as a Christian. I was like, oh, wow. In my mind at that time, when I realized that there's no reality to hell, that hell doesn't exist, and I was still a Christian, like in my mind, I was like, wow, that means that God is like absolutely loving, like truly loving. I was like excited about it. Yeah, I was excited about it. But yeah, no, most, I really don't think most Christians actually believe in hell. I don't think they believe deep down that the Bible is the Word of God or any of those things. Because if they really did, how differently would they live their lives? How differently would they speak? I mean, wouldn't they be banging down every door going, oh, listen to me, please. You don't want to go to this place, and there are some that do that. And I respect those people more than the ones that claim to believe it and live like they don't. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to believe something, believe it. Go all out.
Yeah.
And I have more respect for you.
Have you watched The Friendly Agnostic when he's live?
I don't think so.
You should look him up and watch him, follow him. He might even be live now. I don't know. He almost goes live every night.
Oh, nice.
And he just talks with Christians about he has these what he calls faith-ending questions, and he'll answer them, and it's really good.
Oh, that's cool. Send me a message. Yeah, send me a message or share them with me, so I'll remember to check them out. Cobra Umanti says, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
Sleeping, just lay in bed and listen to these.
That's so great. That's cool. Well, I think I'm gonna sign off. I gotta work in the morning. I gotta teach the young minds some coding. But I am so glad you were on. This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you, my friend, my new friend. For sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know if you've seen me before, but I go live every Friday night, 9 p.m. Central. And then throughout the week, every once in a while, I'll hop on spontaneously. I usually announce it on my website if I'm going to go live like that night, just a spontaneous live. So usually it's like a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday or something like that. Usually once during the week and then every Friday. So yeah, I'd love to have you back.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love to talk to you more, write things down, and be able to kind of talk to you more about things.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to hang out for a second and look at a couple comments real quick. Heartstone, I appreciate you. You have a good night as well. Thanks for the follow. I am sad, friend. Good vibes. What's up, my friend? I'm sorry. I had a hard time keeping up with all the comments tonight. How long were you a pastor? Several years. And I went to Westminster Theological Seminary, got a Master's of Arts in Religion, learned Hebrew and Greek. Did you take any of Jesus' teachings with you? Not intentionally. I'm sure I've been influenced by all kinds of teachings. But I'm in Westminster Theological Seminary. Not intentionally, because I don't need them. I don't need Jesus' teachings. I don't think Jesus said any of those things, to be honest with you. Those things were written after the fact. And good vibes. Are you still on? Or are you set? Sarah Suzanne, thank you for the subscription. I write about this topic all the time, but I've never really found anyone to discuss it with. Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I write about it as well. I write about all kinds of stuff on rickquestionsthings.com. I write about my exit from Christianity. I write about why hell doesn't exist, why Jesus is not coming back, and what all that really means. But I also write about non-duality and living in the present. Understanding who you really are. I wrote about, I have a part one. I'm journeying through a Zen poem called the Shin Shin Ming. I really love it. It's a beautiful poem, and I'm just kind of writing about that as well. But I've written about a lot of stuff. Earlier comments about yeah, it's sad. People are cruel. Right. Good Vibe said they're sad because people are cruel. Why? Well, mostly, well, not mostly, 100% of the reason is they are in some sort of bondage like religion that creates egoism, narcissism. It creates misery. And also because they believe in the illusion, they've been duped and they're asleep and believe in the illusion of separation. Will you have a Christian debate you lie? Oh, good question, Cam. Hang on. They believe in the illusion of separation. So they see themselves and someone else as separate entities, separate beings, and they don't realize that they are the same existence. We share the same cosmic energy, not just share it, but we are it. We are all one thing, one existence. And so they don't know that. They believe they're truly separate, and therefore they inflict pain and suffering and their narcissistic tendencies or whatever it is and violence on other people because they believe they're separate from them. But once they realize that they are this existence and they're not separate from anyone else around them or anything else around them, then it becomes pretty much impossible to inflict that same sort of that cruelness and negativity on others. It's a good question. So someone asked, would I debate a Christian live? No, because I've done that in the past, and debates are absolutely worthless and fruitless because Christian apologetics, for me, Christian apologists are some of the most insincere people I've ever known because they have their points. They just want to, it's no use. Exactly. It's absolutely of no use. So what I'm interested in is not debates because I don't care to change an apologist's mind because that's impossible because they are set in their points. They're so programmed. They'll never hear anything that anyone else says and they won't have a conversation. You're back. But what I'm interested in is genuine conversation like the one I just had. People who are actually, and this includes Christians, because I've had tons of Christians on that just want to have a conversation. But when someone says, let me in, I want to debate. Let me in, I'm going to prove you wrong. I mean, that's just, to me, it's a joke. I mean, I literally laugh at at those kinds of comments on the inside. And so that's a joke. Because Christian apologetics are worthless to me. They really are. It's just absolutely fruitless to talk to them. They have the largest egos I think I've ever seen of any Christian. The problem with religion is that if we don't believe that, it makes their beliefs less valid. Exactly. And that's what's so scary for them, is someone like me who intellectually worked my way out of the religion after having a master's of arts in religion, after learning Hebrew and Greek and translating everything that I preached, after being a pastor for so many years and being absolutely sincere and genuine and 100% in. If someone like me could intellectually work my way out of their religion, that's a scary thing for a lot of people. I mean, the people that I had pastored, I had performed their weddings and their funerals, and I was such a huge entity in their lives. It was shocking for them to learn that I no longer believed. I know it was shocking. It's hard when you look at someone. Unfortunately, you look up to normally your pastors when they are just human beings like yourself. They just have more time than you to dig in and get serious. Thank you. I'm proud of you as well. But it's a scary thing for them to see someone like me who has intellectually worked my way out. They go, wait, that's shocking. It's hard to hear. It's shocking and it's scary. Somebody said, you said it before, you were never a true Christian. Nobody is, and neither are you, because I know that you mean by that some supernatural event that makes you a true Christian, and that doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination. So you as well were never a true Christian. You miss Jesus. You do. No, not at all, because Jesus doesn't exist. So how can I miss someone that doesn't exist? They're saying you're lost because you think for yourself. Exactly, DB Flock. Exactly, because I am free from that bondage of religion. And so they condemn me for it. I believe if humanity would just be right, not concern themselves with others' existence and just enjoy being right. My purpose is just to be, and yours, yes, that's it. I mean, I don't say there's really things. Yes, thank you, Gimme. I appreciate you very much. So good to meet you. Um, yeah, I mean that's it. Just being. People ask me, "What are you?" And I'll say, "I am." They want me to finish the question. They want me to finish the statement. You are what? I am. Well, that's blasphemous. Some people would say it's not blasphemy. Blasphemy is just it's a human concept. It's a religious concept. I am. That's what I say. I am. And if everyone could just say that, I am. You don't have to be anything. You don't have to be anything. Just be, like Good Vibes says. I am. That's the ultimate realization. You okay, buddy? My dog is scratching like crazy, like he's got fleas. He's got bad allergies. Now that is a funny comment. Somebody said his intellect is costing his soul. I would hate to be anti-intellectual. Blasphemy. Yes, I'm blasphemous. Heartstone. Yes, good vibes. It would be, and I agree. Joel Osteen is an atheist. He's just pulling the wool on everybody's eyes, over everybody's eyes. Joel Osteen, Benny Hinn, all those guys are atheists. Good thing is that people can still pray for you, whether you want them to or not. Well, I don't think it's a good thing, but you're free to. It's it doesn't really have any meaning, but I mean, I don't judge you for it, and it doesn't bother me. What's up, buddy? My thought. So was God just twiddling his thumbs, waiting for us to develop written language? Yeah, pretty much. That's funny. Good vibes. That is such a good comment. It would be. Okay, guys. I think I'm gonna have to go ahead and call it. It's 11:03 here where I'm at, and I've got to get up and teach and go to work and all those kinds of things. So, I'm in a new setting here too. My daughter's not here. I'm in her room, set up in her room, and I'm trapped in here with my dog who's going crazy. He needs to go outside. Guys, I am. I love you guys. I really do. You said that an hour ago. I know I got to go now. I've got to go. I'm going to be worthless tomorrow. Um, I really love you guys. Liam, thank you for hanging with me. Yeah, definitely good vibes. Much love to you as well. I appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for being on here on YouTube. Thank you, guys. Jet, good night, my friend. Yes, see you Friday. I love you, my friend. I love you guys. I don't know if Gimme, it's good to meet you. Coleman, love you too, my friend. Sarah, I appreciate you very, very much. Good night, Xander. Good morning, good evening, and good night. I love you too. I appreciate you so much. User, have a good night as well. Tasha, I love you. You're still here. I knew it. Austin's probably zonked out, I'm sure. Tell him I said good night. Kay, thank you. Good night to you as well. Good night, Jess. I will. I'll say it to you too. All right. Well, I love you guys. I appreciate you very, very much. Night Hearthstone, Abby. All right. Annie's Castaways. I'll see you Friday. Please go to rickquestionsthings.com. Check out what I've written there. Check out my shirts. I have all kinds of different cool shirts and stickers and stuff like that. And see you Friday. And also, I write about all kinds of stuff there. So check that out. I'll put my midweek live announcements on there. And follow me on Facebook and Instagram too, because I do post updates there as well. All right. Love you. Love you. Good night. And I will see you Friday, my friends. See you Friday.